We start with breaking news at 6 as thousands of Providence doctors, nurses, and other workers walk off the job. It is the largest healthcare worker strike in Oregon history.
Thomas Schultz is covering it for us live outside Providence St. Vincent Hospital. So Thomas, the picket lines were supposed to begin right here at 6 o'clock. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, well, guys, they've just begun, and those nurses have been streaming out of Providence all morning and hopping onto that picket line. Let's show you a little bit of what we're seeing. You're hearing those horns honk. We're starting to see dozens of workers with their picket signs up, all just coming out here in the past couple of minutes to begin that strike, which is a historic strike. The first time doctors are going on strike here in Oregon, and the largest strike in state history. Of course, this is going to have a big impact on patients across our area. 5,000 nurses are picketing at Providence locations across the state. For the first time, around 100 physicians are joining them, walking out of the Providence Women's Clinic and right here at St. Vincent. All are represented by the Oregon Nurses Association. And ONA claims Providence has deprioritized negotiations with nurses to focus on reaching a new agreement with physicians.
They've offered to negotiate with our doctors because they're not prepared for them to strike, and went on to say that they would not negotiate with our nurses because they are prepared for them to strike.
So Providence has about 2,000 replacement nurses coming in, though they do disagree with that characterization. They say that's unfair characterization of what's actually happening.
We have got one group that has agreed to bargain with us. It's a provider group, and that is the Providence Women's Clinic, and that is the only group that we're currently bargaining with.
Now, healthcare workers are asking for increased wages and higher levels of staffing. Providence says they're already mindful of those staffing levels, and they plan that well in advance. They do say people calling in sick or, other PTO reasons do lead to more increased packed hospital levels, and that can throw a wrench into their plans. Regardless, these healthcare workers are out here striking on the first day of this strike. Once again, Providence has 2,000 replacement nurses ready to go, but you can see a pretty significant line of nurses out here, cars honking as well. Now, for those doctors, Providence says that, once again, about 100 are striking. Those are not easy to replace positions. They say that can lead to delays at facilities like here at St. Vincent. Guys?
Yeah, a lot of time, Thomas, during these strikes we'll hear, hey, it's still going to be business as usual. That will not be the case with this healthcare worker strike. Thomas Schultz live outside of St. Vincent's Hospital, our top story here at 6 o'clock.
All right, we had Rod Hill and Chris McGinnis standing by for a look at weather and traffic. We'll start with Rod Hill. Looked like some raindrops in that live shot there.
Yes, I noticed that too. The first raindrops rolling into the Portland area. Here we are on radar. You can see also showing the rain coming through downtown. Very light stuff right now, but notice this is the beginning of hours of steady rain that will continue to move through our area and eventually increase in intensity as we go through the commute hours. So get ready for a wet start and a wet drive to work, especially between 7 and 9 o'clock. Temperature outside 42. PDX now at the top of the hour reporting for the first time this morning a raindrop coming down. By noon, the steady rain and most of today's rain will be over. There will be scattered showers on the radar this afternoon, but we're not expecting a lot of activity, and temperatures primarily will hold in the 40s. Here's Chris.
Rod, thanks for that. It looks like maybe we're starting to get a little wet east side of Vancouver. This is I-205 at SR 500. It looks maybe a little damp there on the road, not terribly heavy at this point, but as Rod mentioned, that's obviously going to pick up. Door number 3 takes us to the Banfield, Interstate 84 near Lloyd Center. There's your westbound commute. That still looks pretty good. Guys, so far, no crashes, no unexpected freeway delays just yet.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we're going to roll back to our healthcare coverage here for just a second again. In Clark County, 4 health clinics previously owned by Providence are set to reopen on Monday under the Peace Health name. They are Esther Short, Camas, Mill Plain, and the Vancouver Rehab Clinics. Peace Health says that nearly all of the staff at each of these clinics chose to stay through the transition.
Multnomah County leaders say they found the ideal spot to open up a 24/7 sobering center in Portland. So commissioners say the county plans to purchase this building on Southeast Grand Avenue in inner Southeast Portland, right across from that Goodwill. Officials say they've been looking for a space that was centrally located, wasn't close to any schools, and had 2 or more entrances. An exact opening date isn't set yet, but it likely won't happen until sometime next year.
I want the community to know that we value and prioritize their input And we want you to be a partner with us in making this a successful program for our community.
The deflection center that's currently open on Southeast Sandy Boulevard will close when this new center opens up. In the meantime, that Sandy facility will get 13 sobering beds this spring to help fill the gap.
Oregon Governor Tina Kotek has extended an emergency order to address the state's homeless crisis. The order directs state agencies to create a homeless response infrastructure. So that includes creating 600 new shelter beds, rehousing 1,200 people living on the streets, and preventing more than 8,500 households from experiencing homelessness. The governor's office says this infrastructure is on track to provide one bed for every 3 people who need it in 2023.
Incoming Washington Governor Bob Ferguson says he'd rather see budget cuts than new taxes. It's all because lawmakers have to find a way to fill a forecasted $12 million budget deficit when they return to session next Monday. Outgoing Washington Governor Jay Inslee proposed a new wealth tax to offset budget cuts, but his successor is taking a much different approach here. Ferguson is proposing 6% across-the-board cuts to state agencies and a 3% cut in higher education. He is not asking, though, for any cuts to K-12 funding or public safety agencies. And he also added new taxes would be an absolute last resort.
I recognize that's not going to be easy for agencies, but we can all be more efficient and more streamlined. And that's the type of approach we need to make before we even start having a conversation about any kind of taxes.
The governor-elect also says these cuts could save about $4 billion. Now, despite what he's saying, Democratic leadership from the House and Senate in Washington says new taxes will likely be part of the budget solution. Ferguson is officially getting sworn in next Wednesday, the 15th. Meanwhile, Oregon lawmakers still have more than a week until they're back in Salem. Their session won't start up here until Monday, January 20th.
All right, now to our wildfire coverage. This is a story that we have been following all week. Here is a look at the Eaton fire in Southern California. That fire has burned through more than 13,000 acres and is still 0% contained. Evacuation orders are still in effect for tens of thousands of several fires continue to burn. And around LA, the fires have killed at least 10 people and destroyed thousands of homes and buildings.
Ashley Grams continues to cover this story for us this morning. So, Ashley, we're going to bring you into the mix here. Yesterday, we talked about firefighters from the Pacific Northwest heading down there to help out. Now we know local Red Cross volunteers are also on their way.
Yeah, Drew, China, good morning. 10 members of the Red Cross boarded a plane yesterday at PDX, heading down to Los Angeles to support families who've lost their homes in the fires. They're all from Southwest Washington and Oregon, including Daryl Fuller from Kaiser, who's been volunteering in disaster zones for several years. Fuller says Red Cross teams often stay in the affected area for months or longer to help people rebuild.
It's always heartbreaking to go into these circumstances, but you also know you're going there with a purpose. You're going there to have an impact.
There's only one way that I'm able to and the other volunteers are able to get on planes and go and help, and that is through the generosity of our donors who have opened up their hearts and their wallets to help and support this mission.
The Red Cross says they set up 7 shelters yesterday to help house over 1,000 people. Fuller and the team will be there for at least the next 2 weeks, but their stay could be extended depending on the situation on the ground. Now, we also want to remind you that KGW is teaming up with the American Red Cross to help support those impacted by the fires. If you have the means, please consider donating by scanning this QR code on your screen or checking out our link at kgw.com. You can also donate at any U.S. bank branch. Donations in the short term will help the Red Cross shelter and feed survivors, provide mental health support, and help with reunification efforts. China.
And stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the Southern California wildfires disaster. Updates are available anytime on the KGW News app and on our KGW Plus on your smart TV.
Rod, earlier this week, the winds were really whipping up down there, causing those flames to fan even further. I know that they've died down in the last 24 hours. Are they going to stay calm, or are they going to pick back up again here?
Well, you alluded to the main windstorm was what hit Tuesday night through Wednesday afternoon. That's when we had gust over the mountains in Southern California and through the canyons, gusting 70 to as high as 100 miles per hour. That's when a lot of the airports, including Burbank, John Wayne in Orange County, and Ontario had gusts to 60. So that storm is over, but we do have lingering gusty winds in kind of splintered areas coming up over the mountains and shooting through some of the canyons. And because of that, the main threat in those areas today continues to be gusts to 40, in some cases above 50 miles per hour. And there's still a high wind warning for that threat. in these brown areas, which includes south of Santa Barbara all the way down to Mexico through about 2 o'clock this afternoon. And then the fire weather warning area has been expanded in just the past hour, which shows you areas where relative humidity will be 10% or in some cases even lower, hard to imagine. And that's up through 6 o'clock today. So they're not out of the woods, but the weather, the winds the scope of the wind field greatly diminished yesterday. It's expected to diminish somewhat during the day too. So it's getting a little better and a little better in terms of the wind forecast. All right, here at home, we don't have any wind. We just have rain coming through. It has reached downtown Portland. Remember, this is a morning front expected to bring a solid rain band. Well, that's what we're seeing, and this will be with us for several hours. So all the way through the 9 o'clock hour of your commute, expect the steady rain to be here. Here's a look at good visibility, 44 degrees. So far, still dry down at our state capitol, but raindrops have made it in to Portland. Initially, it's very light rain, but it will become somewhat heavier in the coming hour or so. Annie, by the way, is our KGW dog of the day. Use that hashtag post on your social media channels. We'll find your photo, and your dog will become our dog of the day. Annie is all wrapped up this morning, hopefully watching our show. All right, here's the forecast high map. Steady rain this morning, scattered afternoon showers on the west side, increasing scattered showers out across the east side, but overall not looking for a lot of total precip. Spotty showers tomorrow means mainly dry, and then there is a heightened threat of some showers passing Sunday morning in your weekend forecast, and that's your update for now.